If you think that simply being a good person is enough to succeed in this world, then you're making a big mistake. The reality is, the world doesn't reward kindness often. It takes advantage of it. Just look around. The kindest people tend to be the ones who end up tired, betrayed, and asking themselves, why does this always happen to me? How many times have you helped someone, trusted them, been completely honest, only to be ignored, used, or cast aside? From a young age, society tells us to be good and honest, that if we do, everything will work out in the end. But history tells a different story. The people who truly hold power understand one fundamental truth. Being good isn't enough. You also have to be smart. When you hear the name Machiavelli, many people immediately think of trickery, manipulation, or even cruelty. But those who really get him know the truth. He wasn't telling people to be evil. He was exposing the reality of power. The world respects power more than kindness. People will only tolerate you as long as you're useful to them. Warned us, but most people ignore it. If you're always good, you'll be used and then discarded. This isn't just some theory. You see it everywhere. In politics, in business, in relationships, even in everyday interactions. So here's the big question. Will you keep being good and let the world walk all over you? Or will you finally understand how power really works? If you think strategy is only for the bad guys, then you've already lost the game. Machiavelli's darkest lesson isn't about being ruthless. It's about protecting yourself from being naive. So, let's dive in. We grow up hearing the same advice. Be kind, be honest, and good things will come your way. It's like a fairy tale. Good people get rewarded, bad people get punished. But real life isn't like that. Think about it. How many times have genuinely kind people been overlooked, exploited, or betrayed? Think about the employee who's always the first to arrive, the last to leave, works harder than everyone else, and never complains yet never gets promoted. Or the friend who's always there for you, always giving, always forgiving, but ends up taken for granted. The partner who loves selflessly but gets dumped because their kindness is mistaken for weakness. We're taught to believe kindness equals strength, but, in reality, kindness alone often invites exploitation. People who are too trusting, too willing to please, become easy targets. They give more than they get, expecting fairness in return. The problem is, fairness isn't a universal law. It's a social idea often ignored when power and self-interest come into play. That doesn't mean kindness is useless. It means kindness without intelligence is a liability. And that's exactly what Machiavelli was warning about. He didn't dismiss morality, he just understood that morality by itself doesn't guarantee success. A good person without strategy is like a sheep surrounded by wolves. Machiavelli believed true power is all about balance. Someone who's purely good will be destroyed by those who are cunning, but someone who's ruthless all the time will fall eventually. The key is to be kind but never naive. To know that goodness needs to walk hand in hand with awareness, and fairness should never come at the cost of your own survival. The world doesn't reward blind virtue. It rewards those who play the game with their eyes wide open. The most unsettling lesson, but also his most important, is that human beings are selfish, fickle, and can be cruel when necessary. No matter how badly we want to believe people are basically good, history and experience keep proving otherwise. When survival, power, or self-interest is involved, morality becomes flexible. Look at politics. Leaders promise change, talk about justice, and appeal to our ideals, but behind closed doors, they cut ruthless deals just to keep their power. Or in business, where companies market themselves as ethical and caring, yet will layoffs or crush small competitors if it boosts profits. Even in personal relationships, people say they value loyalty and honesty until temptation pushes them to betray. This isn't to say everyone is evil. Rather, it's that self-preservation often wins out over virtue. Machiavelli saw morality not as a fixed rule but as a tool, something some follow out of genuine belief, and others use only when it suits their interests. That's why those who rely only on honesty, generosity, or fairness, without grasping how human nature really works, end up at the mercy of people who are more strategic. There's a big difference between morality as a personal belief and morality as a survival tactic. If you see morality as an absolute, you'll struggle when the going gets tough. But if you see it as part of a larger strategy, something to use wisely, you're better positioned to thrive. This is what Machiavelli meant when he wrote about power. He didn't advise people to be evil. He told them to see the world as it really is, not as they wish it to be. When you understand how people really are, you stop expecting fairness from those who gain from taking advantage of you. You stop thinking good intentions alone will protect you, and most importantly, you start making decisions based on reality, not blind trust. It's not just about who you are, it's about how others see you. People don't follow the most moral, the most intelligent, or even the most capable. They follow those who seem strong, decisive, and in control. History proves this again and again. Charismatic leaders gain power not necessarily because they're right, but because they project confidence and authority. In the business world, CEOs who speak with certainty and command attention earn trust, even if their choices aren't better. In any social setting, the person who walks in with confidence is seen as more important, more interesting, and worthy of respect. Perception creates power. Machiavelli understood this better than anyone. He said rulers don't need to be truly virtuous. They must appear virtuous. They don't need to be ruthless all the time. But when they are, it must look necessary and justified. They don't need to be loved, but must never seem weak. How you carry yourself, your confidence, body language, tone of voice, presence, shapes how people treat you. Those who hesitate, doubt themselves, or constantly seek approval get dismissed quickly. Those who act with certainty, even if they're wrong, often find people willing to follow. That's why the most powerful politicians, CEOs, even manipulators, carefully manage their image. Power isn't about having the right answers, it's about making others believe you do. The world doesn't reward quiet competence, it rewards those who control how others see them. If you let others define your image, you'll always be at their mercy. But if you learn to project strength and command respect, you'll hold power before you even make a move. Information is power. Revealing too much makes you vulnerable. Today, people overshare everything on social media, in conversations, exposing thoughts, plans, weak spots. Machiavelli saw things differently. A wise leader doesn't reveal all their thoughts. Why? Because once you show everything about yourself, you lose control. The more people know, the easier it is for them to manipulate, predict, or undermine you. Every detail you share, your fears, hopes, insecurities, can become a weapon against you. Think about this. In negotiations, the one who talks the most usually loses leverage. In friendships, the one constantly seeking approval ends up disrespected. In business, spilling your strategy too soon lets competitors outmaneuver you. People who over-explain or justify themselves weaken their position by revealing their intentions and allowing others to anticipate their moves. The most powerful figures in history were often the most unpredictable, not because they were erratic, but because they controlled what they revealed. They spoke only when necessary, shared just enough, and left others guessing. This created an air of mystery and authority. Think of leaders who command respect effortlessly. They don't rush to explain. They don't spill all their thoughts. They let others wonder, assume, and chase their approval. Speak less, observe more. The less you say, the more you learn about others, and the more control you keep. Don't seek approval, needing others. Validation makes you dependent on their opinions. Silence forces people to respect your presence. Choose your words carefully. When you do speak, make it count. If every word matters, people pay closer attention. Master the art of mystery. Keep your future plans and personal thoughts private. Let people see only what you want. Machiavelli knew power isn't just in what you do, it's in how people perceive you. And the strongest perception is the one people can never fully figure out. What's too available isn't valued. This applies to everything: money, time, opportunities, and people. Most people think that always being present, always giving, and always saying yes will make them more liked and respected. But the truth, it often does the opposite. The person who's always available becomes predictable. The one who gives without limits gets taken for granted, and the person who never sets boundaries is treated as an option, not a priority. Think about it. Employees who say yes to extra work all the time don't get promoted, they just get more work. Friends who always make time for others often find their own needs ignored. Partners who chase endlessly usually end up undervalued. Machiavelli understood this principle clearly. Respect grows by keeping an air of mystery and control. If you're always around, giving, and saying yes, you lose your value. Great leaders, thinkers, and rulers all knew how to use absence strategically. When you step back on purpose, people start to miss you. When you speak less but with impact, your words weigh more. When you give selectively, your generosity becomes more meaningful. That's why celebrities, top CEOs, and influential figures don't make themselves available to everyone. Their scarcity creates demand. People want what they can't easily get. How can you apply this in your own life? Stop give time and effort to those who genuinely appreciate it, not to those who expect it. Be selectively present. Show up when it counts, but don't be everywhere all the time. Make people wonder when they'll see you next. Learn to say no. Saying no makes your yes more valuable and forces others to respect your boundaries. Create mystery around yourself. Don't reveal everything at once. Let people earn the right to know more about you. Machiavelli's lesson is clear. Scarcity creates power. Controlled presence builds authority. Strategic distance commands respect. He wasn't against kindness. He was against weakness. There's a dangerous myth today that being kind is enough. That if you're good, honest, and generous, the world will reward you. But time after time, reality proves otherwise. People take advantage of kindness that isn't backed by strength. They exploit honesty that isn't protected by strategy, and they ignore people who demand respect but don't enforce it. Machiavelli got this. He didn't say be cruel, he said be strong. True power comes from balancing kindness with intelligence. Don't think about the most respected leaders and influential figures in history. Were they kind? Absolutely, but they were never weak. A wise leader rewards loyalty but removes threats when necessary. A strong person helps others but never at the cost of their own survival. A powerful individual picks their battles instead of trying to please everyone. Kindness is a choice, not an obligation. It should be given to those who deserve it, not those who expect it, and it must be balanced with the ability to say no, to walk away, and to protect yourself. So, what's the ultimate question? Will you stay naive, or will you take control? The world doesn't reward passive goodness. It rewards those who know when to be kind and when to stand firm. So, will you keep waiting for the world to treat you fairly, or will you take charge of your own fate? The choice is yours. If this video changed how you think, don't stop here. Power isn't just about knowing, it's about doing. Most people hear these lessons, nod along, and then go right back to old habits. Don't be that person. Start today by seeing the world differently. Notice how people respond to strength. See how those who are overly kind, without strategy, get taken for granted. Most importantly, start making real changes for yourself. You don't need to be ruthless, but you do need to be aware. You don't have to be cruel, but you must be in control. If you want respect, power, and influence, learn how to balance kindness with intelligence. And if you're ready to dive deeper into the hidden truths of power, psychology, and human nature, subscribe now and turn on notifications. Because in a world that rewards the ruthless and the strategic, knowledge is your greatest weapon. Why strategy is not a dirty word. If you think of strategy as something only manipulative or cold people use, let's set that record straight. Strategy is simply a plan. It's how you make decisions that protect your interests, ensure your well-being, and help you get where you want to go. Even the purest intentions can fail without a plan. Machiavelli didn't glorify deception for its own sake. He focused on the reality that, too often, people take advantage of someone who doesn't protect themselves or who blindly trusts everyone. So, being strategic isn't about being evil. It's about not walking into traps and not letting yourself get used. Spotting the pattern. The goodness trap. You might see this pattern in all areas of life. The hard worker in an office who says yes to every request and quietly gets swamped. Their effort is invisible until burnout hits. The endlessly supportive friend who rarely receives the same level of care, and whose birthday sometimes goes forgotten. The partner who puts the relationship above all, only to realize their needs were never considered as equally important. If you don't set boundaries, and if you always put others ahead without self-respect, others will eventually treat you as background noise. The tricky thing is, people don't always do this maliciously. Sometimes, it's simply that what's always available loses value. Your job is to make sure your kindness isn't mistaken for weakness or taken for granted. Choose where to give. Selectivity builds value. About the concept of rarity. Diamonds aren't valuable just because they're beautiful. They're valuable because they're scarce. The same is true for your attention, your time, and your willingness to help. Ways to make your kindness more powerful. Donate your time and energy to friends who reciprocate, not to those who only take. Learn to say no more, so that your yes truly means something. When you offer help, be fully present, but don't let people treat your generosity as a given. When you create space and boundaries, people around you start to appreciate your presence, your wisdom, and your support much more. That's not being cold, that's protecting your worth. How to project strength without losing your soul. Projecting strength begins with a shift in mindset. It's not about being harsh, it's about not doubting your own value. Stand tall, make eye contact, and speak clearly. Quiet confidence is often more commanding than loud bravado. Don't overshare. Let people glimpse only the parts of you that you want them to see. Hold something back. A little mystery adds gravity to your presence. Decide whose opinions truly matter. Not everyone needs to know your story or your struggles. Reserve honesty for those who deserve your trust. This doesn't mean you turn into a stone wall. The balance is in being open, warm, and supportive, but on your terms, and without giving away all your power. The principle of perception: how people see you will affect how they treat you, sometimes more than who you truly are. If you act like you belong, if you carry yourself like a leader, if you set boundaries and aren't afraid to walk away from disrespect, people take notice. Ask yourself, do you apologize often for things that aren't your fault? Do you feel awkward silences with nervous chatter, revealing more than you intended? Do you agree just to avoid conflict, even when you disagree inside? If yes, remember, silence can be powerful. A thoughtful pause, a calm look, even holding back your agreement forces others to consider your presence. Your words grow in value when you use them less and with intention. Mastering the art of mystery. Those who always rush to explain, to seek validation, or to put everything out in the open end up predictable and often less respected. On the other hand, when you keep your plans close to your chest, when you let others draw their own conclusions about you, your presence becomes more intriguing. Tips to maintain mystique: don't explain every decision. Let your actions show your intentions rather than your explanations. Resist the urge to post every detail of your life online. Protect your privacy for your own growth and stability. Respond thoughtfully instead of reacting instantly. People will wait for your input and respect it more when it comes. Setting boundaries is not selfish. It's strong. The greatest error kind people make is fearing that setting boundaries will make them seem unfriendly, selfish, or mean. Not the case. Boundaries teach others how to treat you. The more you reinforce your own standards of respect, the more others will rise to meet them. How to set boundaries: gracefully say, "I can't help with that today." Instead of scrambling to accommodate someone else's urgency, when you feel uncomfortable, "I'd rather not discuss that right now," is enough. No further explanation needed. If someone takes advantage repeatedly, limit your availability. Focus on people and situations that respect your time and energy. Choosing your allies and identifying fix Machiavelli's warning wasn't just about outsiders. Sometimes the biggest threats aren't strangers, but those closest to us. The people who always want something, the ones who only come around when it benefits them, or those who disappear after they get what they want. Watch actions more than words. Promises are easy. Consistency is rare. If you notice takers who never reciprocate, distance yourself. Your life will improve and your energy will be better spent. Build a network of peers who value you for who you are, not just for what you can provide. Summary: so far, kindness isn't enough. It must be paired with strategy. Scarcity raises your worth. Limit your time, attention, and generosity to those who deserve it. Perception is power. Project confidence. Command respect, and wield the art of mystery. Boundaries protect you. Saying no is strength, not selfishness. Choose allies wisely. Cultivate relationships that give as much as they take. When you learn these truths, you move from being taken for granted to being respected. You develop the quiet confidence that compels others to listen, to value your input, and to treat you differently. Reframing kindness: the power of strategic compassion. Many people see kindness as an absolute good, but in the real world, kindness without boundaries can be a trap. History and psychology both make it clear. If you give endlessly, if you are always available, and if you don't set limits, your generosity will be mistaken for weakness. the result is often exploitation, not appreciation. Machiavelli's wisdom on power and kindness. Machiavelli makes a point that stings. Being good and just doesn't guarantee you power or even respect. In fact, rulers and leaders who try to be merciful and kind to all are often the ones who lose control most easily. Toughness and pragmatism, he argues, are crucial for maintaining authority, surviving threats, and protecting your position. That doesn't mean discarding kindness. Instead, it should be intentional and measured, used like a tool, not as an unconditional guiding principle. The challenge is knowing when to show compassion and when to act decisively. Being flexible, rather than blindly good or ruthlessly harsh, is what makes a person or ruler effective in the long run. Why excessive kindness backfires. Consider what happens to leaders, whether in politics, at work, or even in a family, who never enforce boundaries. The lenient boss who's always forgiving about missed deadlines and poor performance. Their generosity is soon taken for granted, and resentment grows among harder working employees. Over time, that boss loses authority and even basic respect from the team. On the other hand, the leader who rewards hard work but also holds people accountable, who knows when to give and when to say no, is respected. People might not always like such leaders in the moment, but they trust them, value their guidance, and perform better in the long term. The same principle applies in personal relationships. Friends who give endlessly are often left unsupported when they finally need help. Partners who always say yes can end up being valued less in their relationships. The nice guy or nice girl dynamic. Those who are unfailingly generous often feel used, unappreciated, and even invisible. This happens because, as Machiavelli puts it, what's too available loses its value. If you never demonstrate limits or respect, others will rarely do it for you. Strategic kindness, how to give without being used. Defining kindness isn't about turning cold, it's about blending compassion with strength and awareness. This is Machiavelli's true lesson. Kindness should serve a purpose, not replace your backbone. Here's how to use kindness as a strength. Set boundaries early and clearly. Let others know your limits and reinforce them with action. Be selective with help and support. Give to those who reciprocate or are genuinely in need, not just anyone who asks. Communicate expectations when you do offer help, so your contributions are understood as meaningful, not guaranteed. Say no without guilt. This reserves your energy and time for situations that truly matter and for people who deserve it. Think of this like financial investing. You wouldn't pour all your money into a risky stock just because someone asked. You evaluate, you diversify, and you make sure your investments serve your long-term goals. Kindness works the same way. Give where it will grow, not where it will be squandered. The art of the balance. Kindness and control. The real power move, according to Machiavelli, is balance. Leaders and regular people do best when they combine warmth with toughness. Be fair, but firm. Reward loyalty and effort, but don't ignore betrayal or laziness. Show generosity, but with discretion. Lavish praise, gifts, or resources only when deserved, and don't hesitate to pull back if needed. Be approachable, not a doormat. Let others feel comfortable coming to you, but never at the expense of your self-worth. This balanced approach works because it's realistic about human nature. People respond to strengths, even as they appreciate kindness. If you can command both, you become not just liked, but also respected, influential, and resilient. Using kindness as a tool, not a rule, to make kindness work for you, rather than against you. Start thinking of it as a dynamic tool, something to use when it fits the situation, not just a default mode. In negotiations, generosity can sweeten deals, but don't reveal your bottom line too soon. In friendships, be the first to help a true friend, but expect and ask for support in return. In business, recognize great contributions, but don't let repeated failures slide because you want to avoid confrontation. With strangers, be polite, but don't put yourself at undue risk or inconvenience to keep the peace. This shift isn't about becoming manipulative. It's about making sure your kindness isn't isolated from self-respect and practical awareness. When you maintain this balance, you not only protect yourself from exploitation, but also make your acts of generosity more meaningful for everyone involved. The bottom line: make your kindness resilient. Kindness alone can leave you vulnerable. Kindness blended with intelligence, boundaries, and strategic thinking becomes a force for both personal and collective good. Ask yourself, are you giving to those who truly appreciate you? Do you set limits even with longtime friends and family when you're stretched too thin? Are you willing to stand up for yourself, even if it means being less liked in the moment? Choosing to be intentionally kind without sacrificing self-respect isn't cruelty, it's wisdom. This is the Machiavellian approach done right. You don't become cold-hearted or ruthless, but you also aren't willing to be a victim. Machiavelli's core teaching on kindness reveals a crucial tension. Unlimited kindness can actually become your worst enemy. When you give too much without limits, people start to expect it, entitlement sets in. And if you ever draw a line, or say no, others may react as if you'd done something wrong. This is why Machiavelli warned against relying solely on goodness. The world, he said, isn't designed to reward those who give endlessly without expecting anything back. But does this mean you need to become cold, ruthless, or calculating? Absolutely not. The solution lies in applying kindness with intelligence. Machiavelli never opposed morality. Rather, he opposed naivety. His lessons urge us to pair kindness with strategic thinking, offering support to those who truly value it and withholding it from those who would exploit it. True kindness isn't about saying yes to everything. It's about knowing when to say yes and when to say no. It means helping others in ways that don't deplete or destroy you. This balance reflects human nature as Machiavelli saw it. People are selfish and fickle, and kindness without self-respect invites exploitation. The effective person combines kindness with strategy, recognizing when it strengthens relationships and when it weakens them. Generosity should be reserved for those who appreciate it, not squander it. A vivid historical example is King Louis XVI of France. He sought to rule with compassion, avoiding conflict and making concessions because he wanted to be loved by his people. But this kindness was perceived as weakness. Instead of securing loyalty, he became an easy target, and the crowds who once cheered for him later called for his execution. His failure wasn't kindness itself, but his inability to balance it with the strength needed to maintain control. The same dynamic plays out repeatedly in politics and leadership. Even the most well-intentioned leaders who rely purely on fairness and generosity risk betrayal by those they sought to help. Machiavelli knew leadership requires a clever blend of kindness, prudence, and power. The paradox of kindness in leadership. Machiavelli shows us through historical examples, like Cesare Borgia, that a successful ruler needs more than just virtue or goodwill. Cesare Borgia dealt with unruly subjects by appointing a ruthless minister to impose order, and then eliminated him publicly, a shock tactic that both satisfied and intimidated the people. This manipulation of power's symbols allowed Borgia to maintain control without constant direct force. Great leaders of history, such as Alexander the Great or Julius Caesar, were rarely purely virtuous. Their success lay in knowing when to be tough, when to show vulnerability, and when to wield kindness strategically to achieve their goals. This sort of virtuosity, combining intelligence, pragmatism, and selective compassion, is what real power requires. Why strategic kindness wins. The mistake many make is thinking kindness should be unconditional, but Machiavelli points out that kindness, when used as a strategy rather than as blind idealism, allows you to protect yourself from exploitation, build genuine loyalty, command respect without cruelty, fuel goals without unnecessary conflict. For example, Nelson Mandela's kindness after 27 years in prison was powerful precisely because it came from a place of strength, not submission. His forgiveness was a choice backed by resilience and authority, making it impossible for others to dismiss or exploit it. Abraham Lincoln showed tenderness but never hesitated to make the hard decisions a leader must. Their kindness was effective because it was rooted in balance, neither foolish softness nor cold calculation. Contrast this with leaders like Neville Chamberlain, whose excessive appeasement in the name of kindness led to disastrous consequences. Trying to be liked or avoiding conflict at all costs often ends up weakening both leaders and relationships. How to practice strategic kindness. Know your limits. Being generous is admirable, but you must recognize when it becomes self-destructive. Be discreet. Don't reveal all your intentions or feelings immediately. Hold some things close to your chest. Avoid over-availability. Being constantly on diminishes your value. Create scarcity in your presence to maintain respect. Choose your battles. Not every act of kindness has to be a yes. Sometimes the strongest kindness is the power to say no. Balance warmth with authority. You can be empathetic without being overly permissive. Use reputation wisely. Kindness builds social capital, but it must be strategic and aligned with your goals. The psychological dimension modern psychology supports Machiavelli's insight that kindness needs to be protected by boundaries. People-pleasing or giving too much to avoid conflict usually leads to resentment and disrespect. When kindness is indiscriminate, it invites manipulation and exploitation. Conversely, strategic kindness encourages authentic relationships and mutual respect. It's not about abandoning your moral compass, but about reinforcing it by understanding human nature. Those who blend kindness with strategic awareness don't just survive, they thrive, earning respect without sacrificing their integrity. Taking control, putting strategic kindness into action. Understanding Machiavelli's lessons is one thing, implementing them is another. So how do you actually strike the right balance between kindness and strength in your everyday life? Here's how to begin turning insight into action. 1. Audit your relationship stake. A close look at who surrounds you. List the people who genuinely appreciate your efforts and those who seem to take you for granted. Consider which relationships feel energizing and which ones always drain you. It's not about cutting ties, but about being realistic. From now on, let your kindness and attention flow toward those who respect you and show reciprocity. With others, start to set gentle but firm boundaries. 2. Practice deliberate scarcity. Make yourself less available to those who expect your presence. As a given, decline invitations when you're busy or simply need to recharge. Wait before responding to every message or request. Save your best attention for moments, projects, and people that truly matter. This doesn't make you cold. It increases the value of your presence and contribution. 3. Communicate boundaries without guilt. Be upfront about your needs and capacities. Say, I'm not able to help with that, or I need to take some time for myself. If someone pushes back, stand your ground, calmly and kindly. Remember, those who truly respect you will appreciate your honesty and self-respect. 4. Observe more. Speak less. Watch the dynamics around you with fresh eyes. Pay attention to body language, tone changes, and patterns of behavior. Listen more in conversations and let others reveal themselves. By speaking less and observing more, you'll pick up cues about what motivates people and protect your own interests. 2. 5. Reward loyalty. Encourage Machiavelli. Lessons apply directly to teams and families. Acknowledge and reward those who show loyalty and effort. Don't ignore those who undermine, exploit, or disrespect you. Address issues directly when needed. Consistency here builds a culture around you where both kindness and firmness are valued. 6. Build strategic alliances. Seek out people who are strong, trustworthy, and reciprocal. Your network should not only support you in good times, but also challenge you to grow. Don't be afraid to let go of alliances that drain your energy or create constant drama. Strategic alliances, personal and professional, give you more options, making you less susceptible to manipulation. 7. Protect your self-respect. Let kindness be a conscious choice, not a reflex or an obligation born from fear of rejection. Act in ways that align with your values, but remember that saying no is healthy. Step away from situations where your self-respect is consistently undermined, no matter how much you wish things could be different. The real reward of strategic kindness. When you practice strategic kindness, you rise above the cycle of being taken for granted. You start to cultivate deeper respect in others and in yourself. People will notice the shift. You're still generous and ethical, but you radiate an inner strength. Your relationships become richer, your time more valued, and your presence more significant. But most importantly, you build a life where you are no longer at the mercy of others' expectations or demands. You take control, not by force or ruthlessness, but through awareness, boundaries, and wise compassion. Final thoughts. The path forward. At the end of the day, the goal isn't to become hardened or distrustful. Machiavelli's real gift is in showing you how to navigate an imperfect world without losing your integrity. By blending kindness with intelligence, you not only guard yourself, but amplify the positive impact you bring. Remember, kindness without strength is vulnerability, but kindness with strategy is power. Start small. One better boundary, one honest conversation, 1 fewer moments spent with those who drain you. Build up. Choose your allies wisely. Save your time for those who reciprocate, and never apologize for taking care of yourself. If this series has sparked new ways of viewing power, kindness, and human nature in your life, keep going. Apply these lessons. Notice how much more effective and respected you'll become without sacrificing your heart or your head. And if you want more deep dives into psychology, human behavior, and the art of living smart, make sure you're subscribed. The world rewards those who are both good and wise. Now, you have what it takes to be both.